History is not always written by the strong. It is sometimes written by the swift.
Empires are built not just on power, but on innovation, on seizing an opportunity others overlook. For one dinosaurian lineage, that opportunity was an evolutionary gamble on pure, unadulterated speed.
Now, let us open the chronicle and chart the rise and fall of this great dinosaur dynasty.
The story begins in the shadows of the late Jurassic, an age ruled by titans.
This was a world of colossal sauropods, plated stegosaurs. And in this brutal aristocracy of strength, our dynasty's founders were anything but aristocratic.
They were small, lightly built theropods, creatures of the undergrowth, easily overlooked.
The fossil record of these earliest ancestors is sparse, mere fragments hinting at their presence, perhaps arising in the south, on the supercontinent of Gondwana. Creatures like Nequebasaurus from the earliest Cretaceous give us a glimpse into this nascent form. But looking closely at these early remains, we, as historians of this deep time, can decipher the first lines of their epic.
Here, the evidence reveals not a quest for power, but for avoidance.
The leg bones, the tibia, and particularly the metatarsals, the bones of the foot, are becoming elongated, slender.
The skeleton is hollowed, sacrificing robustness for lightness. This is not the architecture of a brawler. It is the blueprint of a sprinter. While the giants clashed, this fledgling lineage was perfecting a new strategy: escape. Their evolutionary spark was the radical idea that survival did not require victory in combat, only victory in a race. This dedication to cursoriality was the key. It was a specialist's gamble, a commitment to a life of flight that would, in time,
allow their descendants to conquer the northern continents.
That specialist's gamble on speed, made in the Jurassic shadows, was to have profound consequences. As the continents continued to drift, separating Gondwana from the northern landmass of Laurasia, the Cretaceous period dawned, bringing with it vast, open environments, wide river plains and fern-covered prairies.
For the descendants of the first swift runners, this was a promised land.
They radiated outward and northward, establishing a dominion across what would become Asia and North America.
This was their golden age, an era where the Ornithomimosauria, the ostrich mimics, claimed the plains. This was the age of Gallimimus, the largest of the dynasty.
It's a creature reaching 20 feet in length, much of it neck and leg.
It was the age of Struthiomimus and Ornithomimomus in the Americas. In these classic forms, we see the ancestral blueprint perfected, honed to an exquisite edge. The legs were astonishingly long, but the true innovation was hidden in the foot. Here, the fossil record reveals a crucial adaptation. The central metatarsal bone is pinched at the top by the two outer bones, fusing them into a single, light, and immensely strong shock-absorbing unit.
We call this the arctometatarsus. It is the anatomical signature of an elite endurance runner.
An evolutionary parallel to the foot of a horse.
Built not just for bursts of speed, but for covering vast distances with incredible efficiency. This physical mastery was matched by a profound change in their armament, or lack thereof.
Their ancestors possessed teeth, but the Golden Age ornithomids had abandoned them entirely.
Their skulls were small, delicate, and tipped with a keratinous beak.
This was not the skull of a predator, nor of a simple herbivore.
It was the tool of a discerning opportunist.
We believe they were omnivores, sweeping the plains in great, feathered flocks.
They were fast-moving foragers, using their long, flexible necks and beaked mouths to pluck choice vegetation.
Snap up insects, seize unwary lizards, or raid the nests of other dinosaurs.
Their arms, long and slender, were covered in pennaceous feathers.
Likely used not for flight, but for display and maneuvering at high speed.
They were clothed in plumage, great bipedal ostriches that had conquered the Mesozoic world.
For millions of years, they were a defining feature of the Cretaceous landscape, their herds thundering across the open flats, living skillfully in the shadows of the great tyrannosaurs.
Surviving not by challenging them, but by simply being impossible to catch.
But in history, biological or otherwise, no golden age lasts forever.
An evolutionary strategy, no matter how successful, eventually meets its counter. The Ornithomimosaur dynasty had perfected the art of avoidance, thriving in a world where they were simply swifter than the terror that stalked the land. This newfound dominance, however, would soon be tested by the rise of a new and terrible dynasty of predators.
As the late Cretaceous wore on, the hunters themselves evolved.
The allosaurs and megalosaurs of their ancestral past were gone.
Replaced by the most sophisticated terrestrial carnivores the planet had ever known. The Tyrannosauridae.
This was the great trial for the ostrich mimics.
In the ecosystems of North America, predators like Gorgosaurus and Daspletosaurus emerged.
Tyrants that were not just powerful, but fast.
When we examine their fossils, particularly those of juvenile and subadult individuals,
we find the same adaptations for speed that characterized the ornithomids.
the hunters had learned the same tricks as the hunted. Suddenly, the ornithomimids' sole evolutionary gamble,
that they would always be the fastest thing on the plane, was called into question.
This specialization, once their greatest asset, now became their critical vulnerability.
they had no other defense. Their skeletons were hollow and fragile, easily broken.
Their skulls were delicate, beaked, and toothless, useless in a fight. They possessed no armor, no spiked tails, no terrifying claws.
Their entire evolutionary history was a commitment to an unarmed life. It's a life built on the assumption that a fight could always be avoided.
They were stalked by predators that could challenge them in their own domain.
We find their bones in the same fossil beds as these advanced tyrannosaurs.
A silent testament to this deadly arms race.
Their world became one of constant, high-stakes tension, where a single misstep, a moment of hesitation, meant annihilation.
The dynasty was now trapped, locked into an anatomy that could not pivot,
facing an enemy that had finally, fatally, closed the distance.
The dynasty endured this heightened terror for millions of years.
Their lives a constant, frantic race across the plains of the very latest Cretaceous. But the end of their reign, when it came, was not a final chase. The end was an execution from the sky.
The long-legged Gallimimus and Struthiomimus vanished alongside the very tyrannosaurs that hunted them. Their delicate, hollow-boned skeletons consumed in the ash of the KP mass extinction. Their final chapter was a sudden, brutal cessation.
Yet, their legacy is not one of failure, but of profound evolutionary innovation.
The Ornithomimosaurids left behind a fossil record that radically expands our understanding of theropod diversity. They are a testament that not all predatory dinosaurs were predators.
They were feathered, swift-footed opportunists who conquered the world through avoidance, not aggression.
Their dynasty proves that in the grand chronicle of life, there are many paths to success.
And that sometimes, the most enduring legacy belongs not to the strong, but to the swift.
When we look upon their fossils today, we are reading a story of specialization and chance.
The dynasty of the ostrich mimics ended, as all dynasties must. Their world of endless plains fell silent.
A reminder that no reign is permanent, and that the earth eventually reclaims all its empires.
Leaving only whispers in stone for new chroniclers to find.